I want to say first and foremost that I really like Sparking Zero, and I'm having a good time with it so far. It really is the fourth Budokai Tenkaichi game that people have wanted for decades, and I'm happy it was made, and it really does have a dream roster. There are some things that I've seen people complain about, such as the fact that some characters are missing from the roster. Like, for example, Super 17's Code is in the game, but he's not playable or even unlockable. Also, it would have really been nice to have had cross-platform. I have it on Steam, but a lot of my friends have it on PS5, and I can't really play with them because of this. Sparking Zero is a massively successful game and sold a bunch of units, and I hope that what I'm going to address on today's video gets fixed with a patch or possibly even with the sequel. However, one of the things I will say about Sparking Zero is that the price tag for the higher end editions is pretty high. And I know a lot of people were very hesitant to pick up the game because of the price tag. But because the game was a success, inevitably that means that sometime down the road, there will be another one. I want to discuss my personal biggest letdown with Sparking Zero, and that's some of the weird decisions that were made with regards to the story mode. Now, I do love the idea of there being 8 different campaigns to take, following the lives of different characters on both the good and the bad side, and I do love the idea of what ifs. If you go back to Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai Another Road on PSP, and Dragon Ball Z Supersonic Warriors 2 on the DS, both of those had phenomenal what-if stories. And there are ones in the story mode of Sparking Zero that I truly loved. And you can tell that whomever it was that created some of these branching stories and who put it together is truly a fan of the series and has been paying close attention to what people wanted. Now, when it comes to the Goku, Gohan, and Trunks campaigns, I really can't complain too much about those. Those were almost perfect. You mostly follow the story of the Dragon Ball Z anime into the Dragon Ball Super anime. And some of the what ifs I thought were pretty damn interesting. Some minor spoilers ahead if you haven't played the story mode yet and you don't want to be spoiled on what some of the branching what ifs were. But Gohan had the infamous Gohan Black what if, which is a story where instead of Goku being possessed by Zamasu, it was Gohan. Now, don't get it twisted. Outside of modding, Gohan Black is not a playable character as of right now, and maybe they'll patch it at some point to make him playable later. But even though there are things they could have done to make this story more interesting, I thought it was executed well, and it was fun. When it comes to Trunks, that is the one where I know they were paying attention to the fandom, or they had very similar ideas, because not only is there an alternate branch where the ending of the future Trunks arc is Trunks slices Zamasu in half, uses the Mafuba to seal one half while the other's destroyed, which is what even I thought the finish was going to be, going back to Dragon Ball Super when it was running. And that would have been the best ending to that arc, because it would have given everybody something to do, it would have made sense, and it would have been way more satisfying than what they did with the Zeno button. But the other big complaint amongst the fandom, including me, about that ending being so unsatisfying is that many of us wanted and thought it would have been better if future Trunks had actually stayed in the main timeline. And this is something that happens in one of the Sparking Zero branches, because there's a whole what if where Trunks actually fights in the Tournament of Power. And at one point has to actually work with 17 and 18. That was so cool and so much fun and such a great sort of character moment amongst those 3 characters, if you know the story of where all of this started for Trunks, that it was probably the most enjoyable story mode. However, a lot of the other story modes were a huge letdown, and some of it is a little bit strange. For example, Goku's story ends at Dragon Ball Super with his fight with Jiren when he unlocks Ultra Instinct. That's fine, but we have both Gogeta Blue and Dragon Ball Super Broly's Broly in this game, so why didn't they just add the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. Like, why didn't we see Goku, Vegeta, Gogeta, Frieza, Broly, all of them in there and let us play that? It wouldn't have even been that difficult to do. Also, the strangest thing that was missing is there's no Universe 6 tournament. Now, Hit is playable in the game. You don't have Magetta, you don't have Botamo, but Frost is in the game, and so is Kaba. But for some reason, there's no Universe 6 tournament. It feels very incomplete. But the biggest disappointment to me was the Vegeta story mode, because it ends with Dragon Ball Z. It doesn't continue into Dragon Ball Super, and to be honest, I'm pretty furious about it and also confused. Dragon Ball Super has been labeled by many, including myself, as the Goku and Vegeta show because it really is mostly about those two characters. Dragon Ball Z obviously was mostly about Goku and Gohan, but Dragon Ball Super has Goku and Vegeta in every single arc, being major players in everything. Obviously, we have Vegeta's moment in Resurrection F. We have Vegeta's part in Universe 6, which could have also been interesting. We also, of course, have the battles between Goku and Vegeta and Goku Black. And a lot of those did play out in the Goku and Goku Black story modes. But there's a missed opportunity here to have told the story from Vegeta's perspective, giving us more of what Vegeta was thinking. You've already got the characters and the stages in the game. It wouldn't have been that hard. And then, of course, there's all those Vegeta moments in the Tournament of Power. When God Topo was announced as being in this game, I really believed, when I started playing it, that the Vegeta campaign would end with Vegeta versus Topo, because that's sort of where Vegeta's story ended in the Dragon Ball Super anime. But no, it's not there. It's just not there. The arena's there, the characters are there, but we not only are missing Vegeta versus Topo, there's other fights they could have done that would have been interesting and other sort of aspects that would have been nice. None of that's in the game. I wonder if they didn't get to finish this on time. I wonder if they were trying so hard to sharpen up the gameplay and the graphics that perhaps they didn't have time to do this. It could be. I don't know. I didn't program the game. But it's something that was so surprising to me that was missing. And as of right now, there's no announcement or anything from Bandai saying they're going to be doing this as a patch or as a DLC. Vegeta's story just ends at the Buu arc, which we know is not true, especially since Vegeta got a lot of great moments in Super. And that's not the only character that got screwed. Piccolo's doesn't even go past the Cell Saga, not even in What If form. Now look, I know that Piccolo did not really do much in the Majin Buu arc. That is objectively true. However, once again, in Dragon Ball Super, he was involved in the Rumble with Frieza's soldiers. He fought in the Universe 6 tournament, although that whole thing's been scrapped. And he was in the Tournament of Power. They could have at least skipped to that and done some Gohan stuff there too. However, the one shining light about it is that we know for a fact that Piccolo will be getting more story. Well, we don't know for a fact, but we hope he'll be getting more story when the Dragon Ball Super Hero DLC drops for Sparking Zero, which is going to reveal not only Orange Piccolo and Beast Gohan and the Gammas, but also giant-sized Piccolo from the movie Who Fought Cell Max. Now, as a hardcore fan of Dragon Ball, I understand a lot of people who play Sparking Zero are very casual. A lot of them have only seen Dragon Ball Z, they've only seen it dubbed, and they truly don't have a full understanding of the story. But I do feel like one of the other big missing points, because they could have put this in the game, again, they have all the characters there and the maps, is Goku versus Piccolo at the 23rd tournament. They could have started with that instead of Raditz, because even Dragon Ball Z Kakarot acknowledged the 23rd tournament as being sort of important enough to include in DLC. You could have also given us some Goku Tien stuff, which would have been fun because they had some great battles in original Dragon Ball. And yes, the 23rd tournament is my favorite story arc in the entire franchise, and Goku versus Piccolo from that tournament is my favorite all-time fight in Dragon Ball, but it's undeniably part of the story. I always appreciated that the older Tenkaichi games included characters like King Piccolo and Arale giving love to OG Dragon Ball, but it seems like with this release, they sort of shut that away and just focused on Z and Super. And please don't be that guy who says that OG Dragon Ball doesn't count, because it's part of the story. This is objective fact. You can't deny it. And it's important. If you don't want to include everything from that part of the story, I understand that. But at least have that tournament, because that would lead into things in the future and possibly even be important for creating another what if branch for either Goku and Piccolo. So while there's a lot of fun to be had from Sparking Zero, and I don't hate the game, I'm also not an online competitive tournament Sparking Zero player. I never have been. It's not really my forte. I like the game. I'm much more of a 2D fighting game type of guy when it comes to being super competitive. So with that being said, I feel like the options in the game, especially the story, is what I was really digging. And while I do like a lot of the strides they made, it still feels very incomplete. Do you agree? Let me know.